so many people are so fixated on price appreciation of their digital assets, right? To sell back into fiat currency, when in reality, fiat currency is depreciating at a rapid pace. They're devaluing our currency. Inflation is skyrocketed in multiple jurisdictions all over the world. It's hard to combat with that. People can't keep up with paying for everyday average goods. Why would you want to sell your digital assets, which have the power to earn you more money and yield? Why would you want to sell that into fiat back into the traditional system that doesn't give you jack, right? Makes no sense. Alrighty, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another CYPRX video breakdown. In today's video, we are going to be doing an overview of a DEX that just recently dropped on the Flare network called the SparkDEX. We're going to be going into detail on some of the things that I find very interesting about the platform, why it is that I'm going to be interested in utilizing it moving forward after I've educated myself a little bit more on the platform and gotten used to it. We're going to do a brief overview, clicking through the platform, reading the documents, just showing you guys the ins and outs, and just getting everybody to see that this new DeFi evolution that we're currently living through is not a joke. It's not a scam. And if you pay attention to it, there are some massive opportunities in the space developing right now that we as holders of the digital assets can take advantage of that we've never had the ability to participate in before, especially on ecosystems like the XRPL or like Stellar or XDC that are really developing and seeing a maturation in their DeFi ecosystems. Especially over the past consecutive couple of months with the AMM feature on the XRPL just recently dropping in March. We took advantage of that here in the CYPRX community, especially when individuals on certain dexes on the XRPL only had, 200 participants. Well, I'm seeing the same thing with the Flare network right now, and I'll show you guys that in today's video breakdown. None of this is financial advice. This is just going to be a broad overview of the platform, just showing you guys again what available options you have as liquidity providers or holders of these digital assets in this space. I personally hold some Flare that I have received over the past consecutive couple of years from airdrops, so on and so forth. And now we have the opportunity to be yield farmers and go and provide liquidity to these dexes with our Flare token. So I just find that that's very interesting, and I personally will be taking advantage of it. Again, not financial advice. So first, I actually wanted to start here with this statistic from April 25th, 2024. And the reason being just goes to show, I want to get the brain juices flowing. Why do so many people think that DeFi is a scam? Why do so many people think that going and lending your digital assets and earning yield on them, or providing digital assets in a liquidity pool and earning fees based off of people trading digital assets on that DEX is such a scam? It's because the vast amount of individuals in the space, a very small percentage of people in crypto already don't know about it. There's already only 6.8% of the population involved in crypto, roughly about, what is it, 560 million active crypto users as of a 2024 AAA report. Now, looking at this report right here, that number is even smaller via the active participants in the DeFi ecosystem. So, for example, it says right here, number of unique addresses that either bought or sold a decentralized finance DeFi asset worldwide from November 2018 to April 2024. And the number right down here reads that there is a peak of roughly about 7.5 million unique users. So just take that into consideration, that when you go online and you look at the influencers on the internet or the people that talk down on Twitter or YouTube about DeFi, it's most likely because they don't even know the opportunities that are readily available, because all of this is so brand new, especially on networks and chains like the XRPL, like the Flare network. This is all new. This is all happening now. So of course, people are going to be skeptical about it. But when you actually read into it, some of the skepticism, like one of the big words keeping people on the sidelines, like impermanent loss, these dexes and these new protocols and these ecosystems and chains are attempting to find ways through their DeFi ecosystems to mitigate those risks and make DeFi more mature, more appealing, so that way it then attracts institutional money. Right. And they know that. So I'm going to show you guys that again in today's video breakdown. So if you just come over here, we'll start on the Flare X page. And then the reason why I like to start this way is so that way the private members know kind of where to go to get the information, what links you can click, which ones are safe, because at the end of the day, this is all new, like I mentioned, and it can be kind of scammy if you're clicking on the wrong links, you don't know where to go for the right website. So I just thought I'd start this way. So if you head over to the Flare X profile and you scroll right down here, one of their most recent posts, actually from just an hour ago, is actually from SparkDEX themselves, calling attention to all yield farmers. And they just mentioned that a bunch of sick APRs just landed on the Flare network. Here you can see some of those APRs on specific assets. And actually, one of our private members before this asked about stablecoin pairs. And right here, you can see in the number 5 spot is actually a stablecoin pair, USDT, USDC.E, where you could be earning 60% on your stablecoins on this DEX. I find that very interesting because I have mitigated a lot of my risk in DeFi and I've transitioned a lot of my portfolio over to stablecoin positions to mitigate the impermanent loss exposure that you have when you're providing liquidity to, let's say, for example, the Tether wrapped Flare pair here, because you would obviously, of course, be exposed to the volatility in the Flare token. Well, if you're in a liquidity pool with 2 stable coins, there isn't really a lot of volatility. So as long as that APR remains relatively the same, then you're limiting your exposure to impermanent loss because the value of USDT and USDC stay relatively the same, right? Pegged to the United States dollar, which is a dollar. So I just find that interesting. Again, more opportunities to take advantage of our dollars earning yield for us if we choose to, our digital dollars, excuse me, if we choose to, tap into that route. So if you click on that post SparkDEX right here, it'll take you over to their X profile here. SparkDEX, they have about 26,000 followers. And they have a couple of links in their linked tree. But if we just look at some of their most recent posts, you can see that this is all pretty much fresh. Right here, July 30th, SparkDEX is proud to have partnered with Steer Protocol to bring industry-leading automated liquidity management, or ALM, solutions to SparkDEX DeFi users. We can see here that they just recently announced this one just an hour ago, that they're just now calling yield farmers to their platform. So this is all relatively new. Coming over here, okay, this is the platform website. You guys can click on their link on their linked tree. It'll take you directly there. And this is kind of what the application looks like. Now, you won't be able to actually see the entire application itself until you connect the wallet and you switch over to the Flare network. You will have to do that in order to see all the options and all the available things that this DEX provides. So just keep that in mind. You will get a warning when it comes up to launch the application and then to connect your wallet to it. And then once you connect your wallet, whether it's MetaMask or another compatible wallet, you will have to swap over to the Flare network. So for example, if your MetaMask is on Ethereum or it's on Base Chain, whatever the case may be, you will have to swap over to the Flare network. Just keep that in mind. So your DeFi journey on Flare begins here. We're just going to take a second and just click through and read some of the analytics and just read through the white paper. And I'm going to show you all some of the things that I find interesting about this platform. So just like when we first got into the AMM features and the DEXs on the XRPL, if you remember in the CYPRX Wealth 28 Club material, Mr. Aqua recorded his how-to video breakdown on the XRPL AMM DEX with roughly about, I think, like 205, maybe 305 active users. You can see right now, same thing with this DEX. This is very brand new. There's only 388 active users on this DEX right now. So we are at the forefront of these numbers possibly spiking in volume under the consideration or under the assumption that DeFi adoption on these specific networks is going to continue to scale and grow over the next 1 to 3 years, right? We are at the forefront of this, and this is physical proof. The total TVL right now, according to this, is 1.36 million. So in my personal opinion, it's relatively healthy. For me, I like to look at projects that are above 500,000 of TVL locked. That shows some level of seriousness. Especially considering that they just recently launched this feature. We can see that people with much more money than most retail investors to some degree are interested in this, right? Now, if you click on the docs, if you scroll down to the bottom of their website, you can open the docs yourself. I want to read through some of this. This will probably be the most boring part, but for those of you intellectually inclined individuals who actually want to mature in their DeFi approach, this will be the most interesting part, primarily because some of the features on this DEX are to help you mitigate things like impermanent loss, risk exposure, and just to take a much more mature approach to your DeFi portfolio and the way that you invest in this space by building out these solutions that are integrated into their DEX, right? And so that really piqued my interest because a lot of people, especially because I'm a mentor in the DeFi space, they come to me and they're like, well, I don't want to get involved because of impermanent loss. But then when you see DEXs and projects being built out that are built in such a way to mitigate those things, it makes me very hopeful that they know this is a problem in the DeFi space and they're attempting to mitigate those risks for retail traders and liquidity providers, which I think is just a positive, right? Nobody likes to lose money. So if we're on platforms that are built in such a way to combat against us losing money, it makes our strategical approach to making money better and have an overall better user experience, right? Which brings more adoption long term, so on and so forth. So, what is SparkDEX? We'll start there. Building an AI, and that's important, driven ecosystem on Flare. We'll get into that in just 1 second, but we know artificial intelligence is going to be a very big integral part of the crypto ecosystem. I've proven that time and time again in many previous video breakdowns. I won't beat a dead horse. We will get into a document, though, that I found interesting that kind of connects to what this DEX is attempting to accomplish. SparkDEX is building the first AI-powered super decentralized application on the Flare network. At the heart of SparkDEX's DeFi hub are a symbiosis of the most sought-after derivatives combined with a next-level user experience that, with the power of AI, will become the primary access point for users who want to trade on Flare. So I thought that that was just a cool mouthful to kind of get into these documents to start out with. DeFi revolution with SparkDEX. In context, DeFi summer birthed many of the premier platforms operating at the forefront of the Web3 space today. By enabling active market participants to use their otherwise dormant liquidity, DeFi platforms catalyzed the Web3 industry and reshaped the way the world viewed digital assets. So I highlighted that right there because, again, what have we been attempting to convey to people on the internet, in our private 28 Wealth Club community, is that our digital assets should not be collecting dust. Now, if that means you don't want to take, the assets that you have in your cold storage because you're protective over them, you don't want to touch them, that's fine. But everybody, in my personal opinion, again, it's not financial advice, should be focused on, to some degree, starting to earn yield on digital assets, even if that's you build an entirely new portfolio starting from complete scratch with no money whatsoever. $100, your $100 could be earning you $2 a day, $1 a day, 50 cents a day. And that's so much more money than a bank and financial institution will give you. And if you understand that zoomed out 5 years from now, honest to God, I'm not even making this up, you could turn $100 into a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 portfolio over time by compounding that account, using the snowball method, by putting the money that you're earning in liquidity pools back onto the account. That $100 at the end of the year turns into $1,500. And then instead of $100, you're earning yield on $1,500. And over time, it compounds and it scales. So the fact that they capitalized on this in their documents by letting individual users know that, your assets should not be sitting dormant. I think that that was something good to just capitalize on. From store of value or digital cash to fully fledged yield-bearing productive assets, this transition was historic. In 2021 and 2022, Layer 2s took center stage, relieving pressure from the overabundant Ethereum ecosystem struggling to support rising demand for DeFi, which we know Ethereum ecosystem and DeFi is the most well-developed DeFi ecosystem, has the most TVL locked in the DeFi ecosystem with, I believe, over $50 billion. And now we're starting to see that TVL spread amongst other networks, particularly like Flare, like Stellar, like all these utility-driven assets that we, at least I, have held over the past consecutive couple of years, but have had no access to a DeFi ecosystem because they just didn't exist. That's all changing. So I agree with this post that it's a historic moment, right? Particularly the new gas-intensive DeFi applications, such as Web3 natives perpetual contracts that arrived in DeFi's second wave. In 2024, AI-integrated DeFi is just emerging. Again, just emerging, so it's all new, as DeFi's third and most promising generation of groundbreaking protocols. Now, I liked that little tiny statement because if you guys follow me on the X space, for all you Wealth 28 Club members, I'm sure that you do, but I post a lot of documents that are shared within our CYPRX private Discord in the research section. And one of the private CYPRX researchers, I believe it was Frank, came across this document. And it's from the INATBA. It's a report on artificial intelligence and blockchain convergences, and it's from July 2024. So it's updated. Interestingly enough, that this is the same exact time that this DEX dropped, right? And it just talks about, I won't read it and bore you guys to death, but it talks about how AI is going to be an integral part and work hand in hand alongside DeFi. And it just goes into detail. It's a full read document. I know I'm a nerd and I read the entire thing. There are some very interesting key features and proponents about this document, but it just goes on to solidify that artificial intelligence is going to play a major role in helping scale DeFi ecosystems. And here we can see that this DEX in particular, as large language models, LLMs, such as OpenAI, ChatGPT advance further into the mainstream, DeFi has its best chance to capture the mass market and produce simple, user-friendly tooling designed for both Web3 natives and mass market newcomers that builds upon the high-performance foundation of second-generation scalability. And this DEX is attempting to be integral with artificial intelligence. So I thought that that was cool, right? Because they're taking advantage of using artificial intelligence to scale their solutions, to scale what it is that they can do and provide to their users. And we know, from systemically important organizations and large institutions and documents that are important like these ones, that's happening, right? Artificial intelligence and blockchain is going to converge. They're going to migrate together. They're going to work hand in hand. And so when we see DeFi protocols or DEXs being built on networks that we all love and enjoy and invest in, integrating into and with artificial intelligence, that to me is just kind of like another plus. They know what's trending, they know what's about to happen, and they're moving with the tide. So super DApp, super decentralized application, trade with ease. So this is again another part of the SparkDEX docs that we're reading right now. And it says, number one, a high performance V3 DEX. For example, if you go on Saucer Swap, you have the ability to go into V1s, V2s, V3s. V3s are those one-sided pools that you can enter in with one-sided liquidity, right? So if you just want to provide liquidity to HBAR, you can go in and provide that one-sided liquidity to HBAR instead of providing liquidity to both HBAR and USDC. Okay. This DEX offers the ability for you to do that as well. So an efficient, liquid, and reliable market for on-chain swaps, staking, and farming is the foremost foundation of any thriving DeFi ecosystem. SparkDEX's first core product is a feature-complete V3 DEX that supports all the latest cutting-edge tools available to Web3 traders, liquidity providers, obviously, of course, like you and I and the members here in the Wealth 28 Club, and farmers. Concentrated liquidity. SparkDEX's V3 DEX enables LPs to concentrate their liquidity in designated price ranges in order to drastically reduce the risk of impermanent loss and maximize yields. Sourced from trading fees by incentivizing LPs to provide capital with concentrated price ranges closer to spot, SparkDEX's V3 model also increases liquidity for traders by an order of magnitude, ensuring more precise price points and reducing slippage. The third little tiny highlight, it says automated liquidity management. SparkDEX has landed a number of powerful partnerships with DeFi protocols that specialize in automating otherwise complex activity liquidity management functions. By integrating Gamma, Steer Protocol, and other leaders in this space, SparkDEX allows users to employ set and forget strategies that adopt automatically to shifting prices so that liquidity providers can mitigate risk and get the most out of their capital while optimizing market liquidity for traders. So when I read that, that reminded me of some of the information that we provide to our Wealth 28 Club members. When you're setting up your DeFi strategy, you have to step back and say, what type of approach do I want to take? Do I want to have a more hands-on approach where I'm constantly monitoring my positions, I'm adjusting things around, I'm resetting my ranges and rebalancing my portfolio because I want higher APRs and that requires more work and more, hands-on practice? Or do I want, lower fees, still taking advantage of yield opportunities, being a liquidity provider? And do I want things to be wider for me in my ranges and, return smaller APRs, but still being a part of the DeFi ecosystem? You have to be able to determine that. And it looks like this DEX to some degree is allowing, it says right here, a strategy to adapt, automatically shifting to prices so that liquidity providers can mitigate their risk. And so again, just showing you all some of the solutions that this platform is offering for their participants, I find that interesting, which again piqued my interest. Limiting orders and dollar cost averaging. One-sided LP features enable users to manually set advanced order types normally restricted to centralized platforms. Remember what we've talked about in previous video breakdowns. This is a feature, and another reason why people find this also skeptical is something that's only been available to, centralized organizations, these large financial institutions, for years. And now, for the first time ever over the past consecutive couple of years, and now for the first time ever on these networks, are retail traders like you and I that hold these digital assets, whether it's from airdrops or whether you've been stacking and accumulating for the past couple of years, can take these assets and go and provide them to liquidity pools and earn, right? And so this is just a really great feature. It's unlocking the ability for any individual on the planet to combat against the devaluation of their currencies and the disinflation of fiat all over the world. So I just find it very interesting. But another thing I wanted to tap into right here is it does say, including limit orders and DCA strategies. So I'll read that one more time because this ties into something that we have access to here in the CYPRX Wealth 28 Club. One-sided LPs feature enables users to manually set advanced order types normally restricted to centralized platforms, including limit orders and DCA strategies. So we're going to be able to utilize this platform to maximize our DCA strategies by different order types. It says right here, normally restricted to centralized platforms. And what do we have access to in the CYPRX Wealth 28 Club in the private Discord? We have access to institutional delta zones. So we can utilize these delta zones on this platform, just literally plugging and playing them onto this platform. Again, to what degree, I have to make another video breakdown on how to do that in depth, but it looks like we're going to have the ability to utilize these institutional delta zones provided by our institutional scalper to maximize our profits by literally plugging in the coordinates onto this platform and setting and forgetting. It literally says that right here, set and forget DCA strategies, right? So I just thought that that was really cool. That they mentioned set and forget DCA strategies. And here at CYPRX, we have the opportunity to really tap into an unprecedented amount of accuracy with these delta zones. And the fact that we're going to be able to use them efficiently on this platform to some degree is exponential for not only our members, but just to show people that this stuff is really cool if you are on the right side of the markets and the people that actually have the information. So why Flare? As a high-performance DeFi ecosystem employing the latest cutting-edge technology, the SparkDEX team strategically selected to deploy on Flare's Layer 1 EVM chain to leverage Flare's state-of-the-art tooling for data management and aggregation. Now, I don't know if you all remember, but I played a video breakdown from, I believe it was an event that took place in 2023 of a JP Morgan representative mentioning that they built this new infrastructure in order to literally lift and drop the old traditional system over to the new one when they can.
And fast forward to today, we have a great panel with some really important institutions who are experimenting in crypto. So, Tyron, if you could give us some history about and perspective of the transition from private institutional blockchains to maybe more public, or what you guys are using today. And Eric, I know you have really interesting opinions on where that's going to go in the future.
Yeah, and maybe I can just provide a little bit of context in terms of just the traditional financial services market and how we think about the requirements really to be able to operate a safe and sound system. So JP Morgan processes about $10 trillion of payments every day. That's 400 times the global stablecoin daily volume. The global FX market is about $5 trillion. And so when we think about utilizing blockchains as a settlement layer, we need the infrastructure to actually support these volumes, and we need them to support the, the scale that the traditional financial services market is at. So right now, clearly, there are a number of reasons, both technological-wise, but also regulatory-wise, as to why we have to use permissioned blockchains. However, you can think about these, globally ever-present, always-up, highly redundant public blockchains as a really, really attractive settlement layer that can, service this global market. However, until we actually solve some of the key challenges, specifically around privacy, specifically around things like AML, KYC, it does become difficult for us to fully step into that environment. We did a project last year with the Monetary Authority of Singapore where we demonstrated what it would actually look like for a regulated institution like ourselves to utilize public DeFi protocols, to utilize public blockchains. And very clearly, there were lots of very insightful learnings for us. The transparency that you get around DeFi pools, for example, the ability to have anytime price discovery through a DeFi protocol, very, very important and interesting. Also, the lower cost. But as I said, until we actually have some clarity around the the ability to actually operate on this infrastructure from a reg perspective, we're going to have to be in this sort of permission view until we can take some of the hybrid steps. And those hybrid steps look like some of the existing infrastructure that is coming out right now around subnets or permission zones or these kinds of things. And from our perspective, the reason why we operate an EVM sidechain is so that everything that we build can actually be portable into a public environment. So actually moving into the public blockchain environment when we can will be much of a sort of a lift and drop scenario.
And they built out the infrastructure on the EVM chain, right? Or they made it EVM compatible. And here again, you can see that correlation. It's almost as if these DEXs know something is up with the EVM chain. Now, moving on here, just a couple of more highlights. We'll kind of pick apart the DEX. I'll show you guys some of the opportunities and the liquidity pools that you have access to. And I'll just show you the platform that I'm going to be utilizing to buy Flare moving forward. And then we'll end it. All right. So V3 DEX. While Uni V2 style automated market makers or AMMs are great for passive liquidity providers, they suffer from capital inefficiencies. These AMMs lack the ability for traders to fine-tune execution rates and do not allow liquidity providers to deploy strategies aimed at minimizing impermanent loss, which is something that we just hit on. One of the red flags that a lot of people come across before getting into DeFi that they're so worried about is impermanent loss. Well, if these DEXs are designed in such a way to mitigate that, that is a positive. In V3 style AMMs, though more complex and requiring active management, they provide solutions to these challenges. And I'm not going to bore you guys to death. For you private members, you can read through this. I will link all of this in the Discord so you can take some time to read through this. But here are some of the ways that this, DEX mitigates these different challenges. So I thought that that was interesting. How does SparkDEX perpetual aggregator work? Now, again, I will drop this. I created this for you all in the Wealth 28 Club. It's notes on this specific slide because this specific perpetual aggregator, it says, how does SparkDEX's perpetual aggregator work? SparkDEX's perpetual aggregator operates using a multi-level risk management system. The reason why I highlighted all this, because again, as mature DeFi investors, our goal is to mitigate risk and maximize our rewards. So the fact that this DEX has a built-in perpetual aggregator in order to, again, mitigate risk and build a multi-level management risk system, I find that very interesting. So this just goes into a little bit more detail on different features and the the pros of this feature for this specific DEX. So I will share this specific page so you can read it, and I will share this specific PDF or photo print that I typed out for you guys so you can see what the different benefits are of this DEX. So again, you can make an executive decision whether or not you want to operate on that platform. Another thing that I found positive about this platform, this DEX, is that they're open with the team members. You can go and you can see who the team members are. You can do your own due diligence, when you have the time to do that. But I find that as a net positive that they're transparent with who's running the project behind the scenes. So you can see the team below. They have the different product development team members and the business development and marketing team members. Then they also have transparency with their roadmap. They have their roadmap from the beginning of this year listed Q1 2024, which you can go back and you can check. All of these things have come into fruition. So they are staying up to date with their roadmap, which I also find is a net positive. Q2 2024, same thing as well. There were lots of developments on the specific DEX, and some of those things have come into fruition. And then now currently we are in Q3 2024. So overview of the platform out of the way, generally speaking, go through, read the docs if you're interested in it. If you hold Flare, or even if you don't hold Flare and you're just interested in DeFi and learning about the perks that this particular DEX has to offer after watching this video, go and educate yourself about it. Just showing you guys already that you're at the forefront if you do decide to provide liquidity on this specific platform, because right now there's only 390 active users, right? Moving on. So let's just click through all this. So here's the platform. Remember, like I mentioned, for those of you Wealth 28 Club members, in order to actually see the platform and what it offers and the farming pools and whatnot, you are going to have to connect the wallet, and you are going to have to transition that wallet over to the Flare network. For example, if you're on MetaMask, you connect your MetaMask wallet, but your MetaMask wallet was on Base, you're going to have to move that network over to Flare network. And you can do all that through the SparkDEX. It'll pop up. It'll give you the option to do that straight through your wallet. But you'll see what I'm talking about once you open it up, because it won't look like this. But when you get past that stage, it will look like this. And so we can just kind of click around and just see some of the opportunities. So right here, you can see that the perps are currently in testnet. You do have the option to swap on this platform. So I think that that's cool, is that you can trade and swap directly on this platform. So for example, if you have, if you don't have Flare and you have a whole bunch of USDC, right? You can probably send USDC to your MetaMask, and then you can go directly onto this platform and swap your USDC out for Flare directly on the platform. So that is one of the ways to actually get access to Flare. So just jot that down as a note if you don't have any. For me personally, how I'm going to be getting access on or to Flare moving forward is, I did not know this, but you can purchase it on crypto.com. Excuse my ignorance, but that was enlightened to me this morning in the CYPRX Discord. So I will be utilizing crypto.com to purchase Flare because I personally would like to stack more of it. Only Flare that I have is the airdrops that I've had over the past consecutive, times that they've done airdrops. Back to the platform. So if you click on farms, and again, because DeFi is so new and these platforms are new and they're fresh and they've all just dropped and these features are brand new, give the platform some time. Most of the time that you experience a problem in DeFi on these DEXs, it's something that you can resolve just by being patient, just by refreshing the page, disconnecting a wallet, reconnecting it, clicking on something again, or trying it in a different browser. It's something most likely that you can troubleshoot. So don't get upset if something doesn't load or if you have to click something multiple times. That's just the nature of DeFi right now because all this is so brand new, right? It's like building a website for the first time. You build it, you launch it, and then as things progress and time goes on, you start to find bugs in the website that you fix over time. And I'm sure that this platform will have some, just like many other platforms out there, and then the team behind it will fix them as time goes on. So anyways, right down here, you can see 457 $1,000 in TVL locked in this USDT USDC stablecoin pair. So let's just zoom out for a second. Okay, let's just take something into consideration. Imagine next bull market cycle, you do make, I don't know, let's say your portfolio is $100,000, and let's say you do a 10x next bull run, and you make $1 million. After taxes, you're looking at about, I don't know, $700,000 to $800,000 if you live in the United States, and you decide to take, I don't know, 400,000 out of that $700,000. It's a little ballsy in my opinion, but let's just say you did, and you provided it to this specific DEX, right? And you'd be earning on that $400,000, 55% APR. Okay. You do the math on how much that is per year. That is life-changing money. That is more than a minimum wage salary that you just learned how to put your digital assets, i.e. a stablecoin pair, on this position, on this DEX, and get your assets working for you. And somebody, to some degree, whether it's a whole bunch of people deployed on this DEX or it's just one person in a position with $457,000, right now are earning yield on their digital assets. They have Flare USDC positions. They have USDT Flare positions. They have Wrapped Flare and USDX positions. So there are a couple of different pools that you can enter with different APRs that over time will either throttle up or throttle down depending on market conditions. You can't expect, unless these are set in stone APRs, which I don't think they are, for them not to do that. But these are just the current APRs, which look very juicy in my personal opinion. I mean, Wrapped Flare USDC right now could be earning you 341% APR. If you have, I don't know, let's just say over $3,000 to $4,000 in Flare, you're looking at a very nice chunk of change per month off of 341%. And if your Flare is just sitting in cold storage doing nothing, why not consider even just taking a portion of that, deploying it into this position and starting to earn yield on it to build your bags, right? Again, not financial advice. It's just something to take into consideration. So this is the platform overall. I thought that was cool. You can click on pools. And when you do so, I just want to click one open. You can see here, this is how you would enter into your position. You choose the different assets that you want to enter into your position with. Here's the drop-down menu. You can switch that. They have a list of the different assets that you can enter into the pool with. And then you have the ability to pick through different fee tiers. You also have the ability to change different range strategies. So these are the preset range strategies that they were talking about. Expert kind of concentrates that liquidity and makes it smaller, making your APR higher. And then if you migrate over to the left side via the full range, that's when your liquidity becomes more spread out, wide range liquidity, and you earn lower APR, but you're not rebalancing your portfolio. And, you're constantly earning that yield because your range is a lot wider. You're not having to really deal with the price fluctuations of your position going out of range with the full range strategy. Or you can manually enter in, your ranges down here where you want price to concentrate your liquidity and so on and so forth. So I found that was interesting. Very easy user interface, kind of So, similar to other DEXs, this kind of just reminds me of the saucer swap DEX, in my personal opinion, just different colors, right? And then here is where you would approve the smart contract or the NFT, whichever it is that they operate on, whether it's a smart contract that you sign or an NFT that you get. And boom, that's how you would enter into the position. Obviously, of course, you're going to need the native digital asset to pay for gas fees on the DEX. You're going to need the specific assets that you obviously, of course, want to enter in for positions on this platform. But outside of that, it's very simplistic in my personal opinion, and a DEX that I'm definitely going to be looking at moving forward. So overview of SparkDEX in a nutshell, in my personal opinion, regardless if you're taking advantage of this now or if this video breakdown just piques your interest in some of the developments in the DeFi space on these different networks and platforms that are just now being established, definitely time to get involved, definitely time to take advantage of just educating yourself. Even if you're not going to deploy into DeFi, now is the time to, at a minimum, educate yourself. So to fall back on like what I mentioned, I don't think I hit record when I started saying this, but so many people are so fixated on price appreciation of their digital assets, right? To sell back into fiat currency, when in reality, fiat currency is depreciating at a rapid pace. They're devaluing our currency. Inflation is skyrocketed in multiple jurisdictions all over the world. It's hard to combat with that. People can't keep up with paying for everyday average goods. Why would you want to sell your digital assets, which have the power to earn you more money and yield? Why would you want to sell that into fiat back into the traditional system that doesn't give you jack, right? Makes no sense. So take that into consideration, because if you do become a multimillionaire or a multi-thousandaire in the next bull market cycle, you can take a portion, not all. I do not recommend anybody take all of their portfolio and stick it into DeFi, because again, you need risk mitigation strategy incorporated into your investment approach. But you can learn how to take a portion of your bag and deploy it into a DEX or a lending or a borrowing or a yield farming or a liquid staking platform in the DeFi space and start earning on that. And that is powerful. Okay. So I hope that this video breakdown kind of intrigued you to, at least at a minimum, go out and get educated. Here at the CYPRX Well 28 Club, we have a course that has over 75 video breakdowns giving you a step-by-step walkthrough of what DeFi is to some degree, and, enlightening individuals on how to get involved. Take that initiative at a bare minimum moving forward and throughout the entirety and the remainder of this year, because you're going to constantly see the DeFi ecosystems on these specific projects like the XRPL, like Stellar, like Hedera, like XTC. Hopefully XTC kicks it up into gear, like Flare, so on and so forth, constantly developing, people building out DEXs, people building out and utilizing the AMM features that these platforms have to offer. And it's only going to continue to grow from here. Maybe there will be some minor setbacks as regulations start to unfold, but at the end of the day, if you understand your risk properly, you've accepted that risk, that's something that's tolerable, in my personal opinion. So I hope that you all enjoyed this video breakdown. I'm going to end the recording here, and I'm going to leave the floor open for questions from our private CYPRX members that are on this current Zoom call right now. With that being said, if you enjoyed this video breakdown, do us a favor, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe to the platform. We do appreciate the love and the support. If anybody's interested in joining us on the Wealth 28 Club team, you guys can visit cyprxtrading.com. We'd love to have you, always here to just help and grow individuals' knowledge base. As always, many blessings to you guys, and I will see you all in the next video breakdown.